The greatest battles are never fought with fists. They are won in the mind. Every conversation is a hidden negotiation, every interaction a silent contest for influence, and every decision reveals who truly holds the advantage. The people who seem impossible to defeat aren't always the strongest or the smartest. They simply understand the invisible rules that everyone else ignores. Today you'll discover 5 psychological rules that can sharpen your perception, expose hidden intentions, and help you think several moves ahead, not to manipulate others, but to become impossible to manipulate yourself. Welcome to How to Outsmart Anyone. 5 Rules for Total Dominance. The first mistake most people make in any interaction is believing that speaking first gives them power. In reality, the person who collects the most information before revealing their own thoughts usually controls the direction of the conversation. Human beings constantly reveal themselves without realizing it. Their posture, tone of voice, facial expressions, choice of words, timing, confidence, hesitation, and even the things they avoid discussing all create a detailed psychological map. The problem is that most people are too busy thinking about what they want to say next instead of paying attention to what is happening in front of them. If you train yourself to become an exceptional observer, you begin noticing patterns that others completely miss. Every interaction becomes a source of valuable intelligence. Observation is not simply looking at someone, it is learning to recognize behavior without immediately judging it. Most people jump to conclusions after seeing one action, but intelligent observers wait for repeated patterns. Anyone can appear confident for a few minutes, but maintaining confidence throughout a difficult conversation is much harder. Someone can smile while hiding frustration, but tiny changes in facial muscles, voice, or body language often expose emotions that words try to conceal. The more patiently you observe, the clearer these patterns become. People often tell you exactly who they are through their habits. Watch how someone treats people who cannot benefit them. Notice whether they interrupt others, constantly seek validation, avoid responsibility, or change their personality depending on who is present. These behaviors reveal character far more accurately than impressive speeches or carefully chosen words. Actions repeated over time are more reliable than promises made in a single conversation. Silence becomes one of your greatest tools during observation. Many people become uncomfortable with silence and rush to fill it. In doing so, they reveal information they never intended to share. They explain too much, justify unnecessary details, contradict themselves, or expose hidden emotions. The observer does not interrupt this process. Instead, they remain calm, maintain eye contact, and allow the other person to continue speaking. Every extra sentence increases the amount of information available. Control your own expressions while observing others. If every surprise, disagreement, or excitement immediately appears on your face, you surrender valuable information. Calm people are difficult to read, and that uncertainty naturally gives them an advantage. This does not mean becoming cold or emotionless. It means developing emotional discipline so that your reactions remain intentional instead of automatic. Observation also requires understanding context. The same behavior can have different meanings depending on the situation. Someone crossing their arms may feel defensive, cold, or simply comfortable. Someone avoiding eye contact may be shy rather than dishonest. Wise observers never rely on a single signal. They combine body language, speech patterns, timing, previous behavior, and surrounding circumstances before forming conclusions. This prevents unnecessary mistakes and creates far more accurate judgments. One powerful habit is to listen for consistency. Honest people usually tell the same story regardless of when they tell it because they rely on memory. Deceptive people often struggle to maintain consistency because they rely on invention. Small details change over time. Timelines become confusing. Confidence appears forced. The observer notices these differences without accusing or confronting immediately. Instead, they quietly gather more evidence before making decisions. Another valuable skill is recognizing emotional triggers. Every person has subjects that instantly change their energy. Some become defensive when discussing money. Others react strongly to criticism, praise, family, status, or failure. These reactions reveal priorities, fears, insecurities, and desires. Understanding these emotional patterns helps you predict future behavior because people consistently protect what matters most to them. Pay attention to what people repeatedly complain about. Complaints often expose hidden frustrations and unmet desires. Someone constantly criticizing successful people may secretly crave recognition. Someone frequently blaming others may avoid personal responsibility. Someone always seeking approval may fear rejection. These repeated themes reveal much more than isolated conversations. Observation is equally important when examining yourself. Many people become experts at analyzing others while remaining blind to their own weaknesses. Study your habits with the same honesty you apply to everyone else. Notice when emotions cloud your judgment. Recognize situations where your ego demands immediate responses. Identify people who influence your thinking more than they should. Self-awareness strengthens observation because it reduces personal bias. Patience separates ordinary observers from exceptional ones. Modern life encourages instant opinions, immediate reactions, and rapid judgments, yet the most accurate conclusions often require time. Great strategists resist the urge to label people too quickly. They allow patterns to emerge naturally. They understand that first impressions can be manipulated, but consistent behavior eventually exposes reality. When entering any new environment, observe before trying to impress anyone. Study who influences the group without speaking the loudest. Notice who others naturally follow during uncertainty. Identify who creates conflict, who resolves it, and who quietly shapes decisions behind the scenes. Influence is often hidden beneath appearances. The loudest voice is not always the strongest one, and the quietest person is not always the weakest. Mastering observation also means resisting unnecessary assumptions. Your mind naturally fills gaps with guesses, but guesses are not facts. Replace assumptions with curiosity. Ask yourself what evidence actually supports your conclusion. Train yourself to separate what you know from what you merely believe. This discipline protects you from manipulation, improves your judgment, and allows you to understand people with far greater accuracy than those who only listen to words while ignoring everything else happening around them. Most people believe power belongs to the loudest person in the room, the one who reacts instantly, argues aggressively, or dominates every conversation. In reality, true power belongs to the person who remains emotionally steady while everyone else loses control. Emotions are natural, but when they begin making your decisions, instead of simply informing them, they become your greatest weakness. The individual who can stay calm under pressure gains the ability to think clearly, make better choices, and influence situations without becoming trapped inside them. Every day, people unknowingly surrender control of their lives because they react instead of respond. A single insult ruins their mood. A negative comment destroys their confidence. A disagreement becomes a personal attack. Someone ignores their message, and they immediately assume rejection. These emotional reactions happen so quickly that people rarely stop to question them. They simply obey whatever emotion appears first. The problem is that emotions are temporary, but the decisions made under their influence often create permanent consequences. Emotionally disciplined people understand that not every feeling deserves immediate action. Anger may demand revenge, but wisdom demands patience. Fear may encourage retreat, but reason encourages evaluation. Excitement may push someone toward impulsive decisions, while discipline insists on careful analysis. The strongest individuals do not suppress emotions. They simply refuse to let emotions become their leader. One of the greatest psychological advantages you can develop is becoming difficult to provoke. There will always be people who intentionally test your patience. Some criticize because they seek attention. Others insult because they want a reaction. Some spread negativity because they cannot control their own emotions. The moment you react exactly as they expected, they gain influence over your behavior. Your mood, your words, and your decisions are suddenly controlled by someone else. Remaining calm breaks this cycle because it denies them the emotional response they were trying to create. Silence often becomes more powerful than argument. When someone expects anger but receives calm confidence instead, the balance of control changes immediately. They begin questioning themselves instead of controlling you. Many conflicts continue only because both people keep feeding emotional energy into the situation. Remove your emotional reaction, and many unnecessary battles lose their momentum. Learning to pause before responding is one of the simplest yet most powerful habits you can build. A few seconds of silence allow your logical mind to catch up with your emotional mind. Instead of speaking words you later regret, you choose responses that serve your long-term goals. This small habit prevents countless mistakes in relationships, business, leadership, and everyday life. People also reveal important information when they become emotional. Fear changes behavior, pride changes behavior, jealousy changes behavior, anger changes behavior. While others lose emotional balance, they often expose their priorities, insecurities, and hidden intentions. If you remain calm while they become reactive, you gain valuable insight without revealing much about yourself. Confidence and emotional control are deeply connected. Truly confident people rarely feel the need to prove themselves in every conversation. They do not argue over every opinion or seek validation from strangers. They understand that confidence is demonstrated through consistency, not constant explanation. Insecure individuals often react quickly because every disagreement feels like a threat to their identity. Secure individuals can tolerate disagreement without feeling personally attacked. Another important principle is separating facts from feelings. Feelings are real experiences, but they are not always accurate reflections of reality. You may feel ignored without actually being ignored. You may feel like a failure after one mistake despite years of success. You may feel rejected because of a misunderstanding. Emotionally intelligent people acknowledge their feelings without automatically accepting every emotional conclusion as truth. They examine evidence before making decisions. Stress also becomes easier to manage when emotions are controlled instead of feared. Pressure exists in every meaningful pursuit. Successful leaders, athletes, entrepreneurs, and negotiators all experience stress. The difference is that they refuse to panic simply because pressure appears. They expect challenges and prepare themselves mentally before difficult situations arise. Because challenges are anticipated rather than feared, emotional stability becomes easier to maintain. Controlling emotions also means protecting your attention. Modern life constantly competes for emotional reactions through social media, news, arguments, gossip, and endless distractions. Every notification demands urgency. Every controversy demands an opinion. Every disagreement invites participation. If you react to everything, your mental energy becomes scattered across problems that contribute nothing to your personal growth. Disciplined individuals choose carefully which situations deserve their emotional investment. Another overlooked habit is learning to recover quickly after emotional setbacks. Everyone experiences disappointment, embarrassment, rejection, and failure. Emotional strength is not measured by never feeling pain. It is measured by how quickly you regain clarity after experiencing it. Some people remain trapped inside one negative experience for weeks or even years. Others acknowledge the lesson, adapt, and continue moving forward with greater wisdom. Your physical habits also influence emotional control more than most people realize. Poor sleep, constant stress, unhealthy routines, and mental exhaustion reduce patience and increase impulsive reactions. A disciplined lifestyle strengthens emotional discipline because a healthy mind functions more effectively inside a healthy body. Consistent routines create stability, making emotional balance easier to maintain even during difficult periods. Perhaps the greatest advantage of emotional control is predictability. People trust individuals who remain steady under pressure because they know what to expect. Leaders who panic create uncertainty. Leaders who remain calm create confidence. Families, teams, businesses, and friendships naturally gravitate toward those who provide emotional stability during chaos. Calmness becomes a source of influence because people feel safer following someone who thinks clearly instead of reacting impulsively. Mastering emotional control also requires humility. There will be moments when your emotions win. You may speak too quickly, judge too harshly, or react without thinking. Instead of defending these mistakes, study them. Ask yourself what triggered the reaction, what belief fueled it, and how you can respond differently next time. Every emotional mistake becomes valuable training for future situations. The individual who masters emotions gains an invisible advantage in every area of life because while others become controlled by pressure, criticism, fear, excitement, or anger, they remain focused on reality, guided by reason, and capable of making decisions that serve their goals rather than satisfying temporary feelings. Most people only think about their next move. They react to what is happening right now without considering what their current decision will create tomorrow. This short-term thinking keeps them trapped in cycles of predictable mistakes. Strategic people operate differently. Before making a decision, they mentally explore several possible outcomes. They understand that every action creates a reaction, and every reaction creates another opportunity or another problem. The ability to think 3 moves ahead separates ordinary decision makers from those who consistently stay in control. Imagine playing a game of chess against an experienced player. A beginner focuses only on the next move. An expert studies the entire board, anticipating responses before making a single decision. Life operates in much the same way. Conversations, business negotiations, friendships, leadership, and even personal goals reward those who prepare for consequences before they happen. The future is rarely controlled by luck alone. More often, it is shaped by preparation and foresight. Thinking ahead begins with asking better questions. Instead of asking, "What do I want right now?" ask, "What happens after I get it?" Instead of asking, "How do I win this argument?" ask, "What effect will winning have on this relationship?" Instead of asking, "How can I respond immediately?" ask, "What response gives me the greatest long-term advantage?" These questions force your mind to shift from emotion towards strategy. Many people lose opportunities because they chase immediate satisfaction. They speak without considering consequences. They spend without planning for tomorrow. They make promises without calculating the effort required to keep them. They choose comfort over preparation because the future feels distant. Strategic thinkers willingly sacrifice temporary pleasure when it protects future success. They understand that discipline today creates freedom later. One of the strongest habits you can develop is predicting possible reactions before speaking. Every conversation contains multiple paths. If you say one sentence, how is the other person likely to respond? If they react negatively, what will you do next? If they agree immediately, are they being genuine or simply avoiding conflict? If they refuse your request, what alternative options exist? Thinking through these possibilities allows you to remain composed because very little catches you by surprise. Preparation reduces fear. Anxiety often comes from uncertainty rather than difficulty itself. When you have already imagined different scenarios, your mind feels more confident because it knows there is a plan. Athletes prepare for different strategies. Military leaders prepare for unexpected situations. Successful entrepreneurs prepare for changing markets. The principle remains the same across every field. Those who prepare before challenges appear usually perform better when challenges arrive. Strategic thinking also requires patience. Impulsive decisions often feel powerful because they create immediate action. However, immediate action without careful thought frequently creates unnecessary problems. A patient person gathers information before making important decisions. They observe patterns, ask questions, identify risks, and only then decide on the best course of action. Waiting does not always mean weakness. Sometimes waiting is the smartest move available. People who think ahead also understand the value of timing. A great idea presented at the wrong moment often fails. Correct words spoken with poor timing create conflict instead of cooperation. Success depends not only on what you do, but also on when you choose to do it. Timing requires awareness of circumstances, emotions, and opportunities. Strategic individuals recognize that forcing events before the right moment usually creates resistance. Another important principle is recognizing second-order consequences. Most people only notice the immediate result of a decision. Strategic thinkers continue asking, "Then what? If I accept this opportunity, what responsibilities follow? If I reject this invitation, what relationships might change? If I solve today's problem this way, what new challenges could appear later?" This habit reveals consequences that impulsive thinkers rarely notice. Long-term thinking also protects you from manipulation. Many people attempt to pressure others into making quick decisions because speed reduces careful analysis. Whether in negotiations, sales, or personal relationships, urgency often benefits the person creating it. Strategic thinkers remain calm under pressure. They understand that an extra hour, an extra day, or an extra conversation can reveal information that changes everything. They refuse to confuse urgency with importance. Every successful leader develops contingency plans. They never rely on a single path to success. If one strategy fails, another is already prepared. If circumstances change, adjustments can be made without panic. Flexibility is a sign of intelligence because reality rarely follows perfect predictions. Thinking 3 moves ahead does not mean believing you know the future. It means preparing for multiple possible futures. Observation strengthens strategic thinking. The more accurately you understand people, the more accurately you can predict behavior. Human beings often repeat familiar patterns. Someone who avoids responsibility today will probably avoid responsibility tomorrow. Someone who consistently keeps promises will likely continue doing so. Studying patterns allows you to make better predictions without relying on guesswork. Your emotions can interfere with long-term thinking if left unchecked. Anger demands immediate action. Fear encourages unnecessary retreat. Pride refuses helpful advice. Excitement ignores potential risks. Strategic thinkers acknowledge emotions but refuse to let them dominate important decisions. Logic becomes the foundation, while emotions remain valuable signals rather than commanders. Thinking ahead also means investing in skills before you urgently need them. Learn communication before becoming a leader. Build financial discipline before wealth arrives. Strengthen your health before illness forces change. Develop patience before facing major setbacks. Preparation creates confidence because you are building resources long before they become essential. Another overlooked habit is reviewing past decisions. Ask yourself why certain choices succeeded while others failed. What information did you ignore? Which assumptions proved incorrect? Which predictions turned out to be accurate? Reflection improves future judgment because every experience becomes a lesson instead of merely a memory. The people who consistently improve are not those who never make mistakes, but those who study every mistake until it becomes wisdom. Strategic thinking ultimately transforms the way you approach life. Instead of reacting to events as they unfold, you begin anticipating possibilities before they appear. Instead of allowing circumstances to control your direction, you position yourself to influence outcomes through preparation, patience, careful observation, disciplined judgment, and the willingness to think beyond the present moment, while everyone else remains focused only on the move directly in front of them. Most people believe power comes from speaking more, explaining every decision, defending every opinion, and filling every moment with words. They assume that the person who talks the most controls the conversation. In reality, silence is often far more powerful than endless talking. Silence creates curiosity, builds mystery, strengthens emotional control, and forces other people to reveal themselves. Those who understand how to use silence intentionally possess an advantage that many never recognize. Human nature is uncomfortable with silence. The moment a conversation becomes quiet, many people feel pressured to speak. They rush to explain themselves, justify their actions, reveal personal information, or make unnecessary promises simply to remove the awkwardness. The person who remains comfortable with silence gains an opportunity to observe while everyone else feels compelled to fill the empty space. Every extra sentence spoken by the other person becomes valuable information. Silence demonstrates confidence. Insecure people often believe they must constantly prove their intelligence or importance through words. They interrupt others, dominate discussions, and defend themselves even when nobody has questioned them. Truly confident individuals understand that their value does not depend on speaking every minute. They choose their words carefully because they know that well-timed sentences carry far greater impact than endless conversations. Think about the most respected leaders you have observed. During important meetings or difficult negotiations, they rarely rush to answer immediately. Instead, they pause. They listen. They consider the situation before responding. That brief silence communicates discipline and thoughtfulness. It shows they are making decisions based on careful judgment rather than emotional impulse. Their words gain greater weight precisely because they are not constantly speaking. Silence also becomes a powerful response to provocation. Some people intentionally try to create emotional reactions. They criticize, insult, mock, or challenge others simply to gain control of the interaction. The moment you react emotionally, they succeed in influencing your behavior. But when your response is calm silence instead of immediate anger, the balance shifts. They expected resistance but encounter composure. Their confidence begins to weaken because their strategy no longer works. Many arguments survive only because both people refuse to stop talking. Every accusation receives another accusation. Every insult produces another insult. Every explanation creates another disagreement. Silence interrupts this cycle. It removes emotional fuel from the conflict. Without constant reactions, many unnecessary arguments naturally lose momentum because there is nothing left to feed them. Another advantage of silence is that it encourages honesty. During conversations, people often reveal more than they intended simply because the other person remains quiet. After answering a question, they continue talking. They begin adding details nobody requested. They attempt to justify their statements, explain contradictions, or reveal hidden concerns. Experienced interviewers, negotiators, investigators, and psychologists frequently understand this principle. They ask thoughtful questions and then patiently allow silence to do much of the work. Silence also improves listening. Most people are not truly listening when others speak. Instead, they are mentally preparing their next response. Their attention is focused on themselves rather than on understanding the other person. By speaking less, you naturally begin hearing more. You notice changes in tone, hesitation, repeated words, emotional triggers, and subtle inconsistencies that would otherwise pass unnoticed. Your words also become more valuable when they are rare. Imagine two people giving advice. One speaks continuously throughout the day. The other remains quiet most of the time, but occasionally offers thoughtful observations. Whose words will people remember? Scarcity creates value. Constant talking often reduces the importance of every sentence because nothing feels significant anymore. Selective communication gives your ideas greater impact. Silence should never be confused with fear or passivity. Remaining silent does not mean avoiding difficult conversations forever. It means understanding when speaking helps and when speaking hurts. There are moments when action requires clear communication, honest confrontation, or firm leadership. Wisdom lies in recognizing the difference between necessary words and unnecessary noise. Emotional discipline makes silence possible. When someone criticizes you unfairly, your emotions immediately demand a response. Pride wants to defend itself. Anger wants revenge. Ego wants to prove superiority. Yet responding immediately often produces regret. A short period of silence allows reason to regain control before emotions make decisions. This simple habit prevents countless mistakes that occur during emotionally charged situations. Silence also protects your plans. Many people announce every goal before making progress. They describe future achievements in great detail long before taking meaningful action. Unfortunately, excessive talking often creates the illusion of accomplishment while reducing actual effort. Strategic individuals understand that results speak louder than promises. They quietly build skills, improve themselves, and allow success to become their introduction rather than their announcement. Another important lesson is resisting the urge to explain yourself to everyone. Not every misunderstanding requires correction. Not every accusation deserves an answer. Some people have already decided what they believe regardless of the evidence you provide. Endless explanations rarely change closed minds. Sometimes the strongest response is allowing your consistent actions over time to become your defense. Silence also strengthens observation because it shifts attention away from yourself. When you dominate every conversation, people focus on your opinions, your emotions, and your personality. When you speak less and listen more, attention naturally shifts toward others. They reveal their priorities, values, habits, fears, ambitions, and motivations. You gain knowledge while revealing very little in return. In negotiations, silence often becomes an invisible form of pressure. After presenting an offer, inexperienced people continue talking because they become uncomfortable waiting. They begin lowering expectations, offering additional concessions, or weakening their own position. Skilled negotiators remain quiet after making their proposal. They patiently wait for the other person to respond instead of negotiating against themselves. Silence is equally valuable during moments of success. People who constantly seek recognition often diminish their achievements by demanding praise. Quiet confidence creates a different impression. Others begin noticing accomplishments naturally because they are not being forced into the spotlight. Respect earned through consistent action lasts much longer than attention gained through constant self-promotion. Learning to master silence requires patience, emotional discipline, self-awareness, and confidence. It teaches you that influence does not always come from louder voices, longer speeches, or constant explanations. Often the greatest strength belongs to the person who knows exactly when to remain silent, allowing patience, observation, restraint, and carefully chosen words to accomplish what endless talking never could. Most people judge others only by what they say, but words are often the least reliable source of truth. Human beings naturally protect their image. They present the version of themselves they want the world to see, hiding fears, insecurities, ambitions, and personal weaknesses behind carefully chosen language. If you want to understand people accurately, you must learn to look beyond their words and recognize the hidden motives that drive their behavior. Every decision, habit, and reaction is influenced by something deeper than what is spoken aloud. Every person is motivated by a combination of desires and fears. Some seek power because they fear being controlled. Others seek wealth because they fear insecurity. Some crave attention because they fear being ignored. Others constantly help everyone around them because they fear rejection. When you begin identifying these hidden motivations, people's actions become much easier to understand. You stop being surprised because you recognize the emotional engine behind their decisions. One of the first principles is accepting that actions reveal priorities more accurately than promises. Anyone can promise loyalty, honesty, discipline, or commitment. Words require very little effort. Consistent behavior requires character. If someone repeatedly breaks promises, avoids responsibility, or changes their behavior whenever circumstances become difficult, believe the pattern instead of the explanation. Patterns rarely lie. Observe what people repeatedly choose, not what they repeatedly claim. A person who constantly says family comes first but spends no meaningful time with loved ones has revealed their true priorities. Someone who claims honesty yet frequently hides small truths will eventually hide larger ones. Someone who speaks about discipline while making excuses every day is demonstrating habit rather than intention. Consistent actions expose reality. Another powerful habit is noticing what people protect the most. Every individual has subjects that immediately trigger emotional reactions. It may be money, status, reputation, relationships, appearance, authority, or success. When these areas are challenged, emotions become stronger because they touch something deeply important. These reactions are valuable clues. They reveal where pride, insecurity, or personal identity is invested. People also reveal hidden motives through competition. Some celebrate the success of others because they possess genuine confidence. Others secretly become uncomfortable whenever someone around them succeeds. Jealousy often appears in subtle ways. It may hide behind criticism, sarcasm, unnecessary comparisons, or the habit of minimizing another person's achievements. Instead of offering sincere encouragement, insecure individuals search for reasons to reduce someone else's accomplishment because another person's success reminds them of their own unmet goals. Pay attention to how people behave when there is nothing to gain. Character becomes visible when rewards disappear. Someone who remains respectful toward people with no influence demonstrates genuine integrity. Someone who is kind only to powerful individuals but dismissive toward everyone else reveals that their politeness is transactional rather than authentic. Hidden motives often become obvious when external rewards are removed. Understanding weaknesses is equally important, but this knowledge should first be used to improve your judgment, not to exploit others. Every person has emotional blind spots. Pride prevents some people from admitting mistakes. Impatience causes others to make rushed decisions. Greed encourages unnecessary risks. Fear keeps many trapped inside comfortable routines. Recognizing these weaknesses helps you predict behavior because people repeatedly act according to the habits they have never mastered. Another important principle is separating confidence from arrogance. Confident people do not constantly need recognition. They are comfortable allowing results to speak for themselves. Arrogant individuals often seek admiration because they secretly depend on external validation. They exaggerate achievements, interrupt conversations, dismiss opposing opinions, and become defensive whenever questioned. Their behavior is often driven by insecurity rather than genuine strength. People also reveal themselves through the questions they ask. Curious individuals seek understanding. Insecure individuals seek reassurance. Manipulative individuals often ask questions designed to collect information without revealing much about themselves. Self-centered people constantly redirect conversations toward their own experiences. Observing these communication patterns helps you understand how someone thinks long before they openly reveal their intentions. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that everyone shares the same values. They assume others prioritize honesty, loyalty, fairness, or kindness simply because they personally do. This assumption creates disappointment. Every person operates according to a different internal hierarchy of values. Some value comfort above growth. Others value status above honesty. Some value freedom above security. Strategic thinkers never assume shared priorities. They observe behavior until values become obvious. Hidden motives often become visible during moments of pressure. Success can hide weaknesses, but difficulty exposes them. When problems appear, some people become dependable while others disappear. Some remain calm while others panic. Some accept responsibility while others search for someone to blame. Pressure removes many social masks because maintaining appearances becomes much harder under stress. Another valuable lesson is understanding that insecurity often disguises itself as strength. Loud confidence, constant dominance, unnecessary aggression, and endless self-promotion are not always signs of power. Sometimes they are attempts to hide self-doubt. Truly secure individuals rarely need to convince everyone else of their importance. Their confidence is quiet because it does not depend on public approval. Develop the habit of asking yourself why someone benefits from a particular action. Every decision creates consequences, and most people naturally move toward outcomes that serve their interests. This does not automatically make them dishonest. It simply reminds you that human beings often act according to incentives. By identifying potential benefits, you gain a clearer understanding of motivations without becoming cynical. It is equally important to study your own hidden motives. Ask yourself why certain criticism affects you more than other criticism. Why do some people instantly earn your trust while others create discomfort? Why do you pursue specific goals? Self-awareness protects you from becoming blind to your own emotional patterns. The better you understand yourself, the more accurately you understand others because you recognize the same psychological forces operating in different forms. Mastering this skill requires patience because hidden motives are rarely revealed immediately. They emerge through repeated observation, careful listening, consistent behavior, emotional reactions, and decisions made over time. The person who develops the ability to recognize these deeper patterns becomes far less vulnerable to deception, far more accurate in judging character, and far better prepared to build relationships based on reality rather than appearances, while understanding that true influence begins with seeing people as they truly are, instead of merely believing the image they choose to display. Presence is one of the most misunderstood forms of power. Many people believe it comes from physical size, expensive clothing, a loud voice, or a high social status. While these things may attract temporary attention, they do not create lasting respect. Real presence is invisible. It is the quiet confidence that enters a room before words are spoken. It is the calm certainty that makes people pay attention without being asked. Those who possess an unshakable presence rarely chase validation because their behavior naturally commands respect. People constantly evaluate others within seconds of meeting them. They notice posture, eye contact, facial expressions, movement, tone of voice, emotional stability, and confidence long before they remember specific words. These silent signals create powerful first impressions. If your body communicates uncertainty while your words attempt to project confidence, people will usually believe your body instead of your speech. Presence begins with complete alignment between your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Confidence starts internally before it becomes visible externally. Someone who constantly doubts themselves will unconsciously reveal that uncertainty through nervous habits. They speak too quickly, avoid eye contact, apologize unnecessarily, constantly seek approval, or change their opinions to satisfy others. These behaviors quietly communicate insecurity even when the words sound confident. True presence develops when your self-worth no longer depends on the reactions of everyone around you. One of the strongest habits you can develop is becoming comfortable with stillness. Nervous people often feel the need to keep moving, adjusting their clothes, checking their phones, tapping their fingers, or filling every pause with unnecessary words. Calm individuals remain composed. Their movements are deliberate rather than restless. This controlled behavior creates an impression of confidence because it signals that they are comfortable in their own presence. Eye contact also plays an important role. Looking directly at someone while remaining relaxed communicates attention and confidence. Avoiding eye contact may suggest discomfort or uncertainty, while staring aggressively creates unnecessary tension. Balanced eye contact shows respect without intimidation. It demonstrates that you are fully present in the conversation instead of mentally escaping from it. Your voice communicates as much as your words. Speaking clearly, calmly, and at a controlled pace naturally commands more attention than rushing through sentences. People who constantly speak too fast often reveal anxiety or the fear of being interrupted. Slowing your pace gives your words greater weight. It also demonstrates that you are not desperate for approval or afraid of silence. Every pause becomes intentional rather than uncomfortable. Another essential principle is keeping your promises. Presence is built through consistency, not performance. Anyone can appear confident for one conversation or one meeting. Lasting respect comes from repeated reliability. When people know your words consistently match your actions, trust begins to develop. Trust strengthens reputation, and reputation strengthens presence. Eventually, your character begins speaking before you even enter the room. Boundaries are another foundation of commanding respect. Many people lose respect because they fear disappointing others. They say yes when they want to say no. They tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. They constantly sacrifice their priorities to gain temporary approval. While kindness is important, endless people-pleasing often weakens personal authority. Respect grows when you protect your values without becoming rude or arrogant. Presence also requires emotional stability. Difficult situations reveal the difference between appearance and reality. Anyone can seem confident when everything goes according to plan. True strength appears when unexpected problems arise. If criticism immediately destroys your confidence or pressure causes panic, people notice. Those who remain calm during uncertainty naturally become trusted because emotional stability creates a sense of security for everyone around them. Another powerful habit is speaking only when you have something meaningful to contribute. Constant talking often weakens authority because important ideas become buried beneath unnecessary words. People who choose quality over quantity naturally attract greater attention. Others begin listening more carefully because they know each statement has purpose. Silence combined with thoughtful communication creates influence that endless conversation rarely achieves. Purpose also strengthens presence. Individuals who know exactly what they stand for make decisions with greater confidence because they are guided by principles instead of temporary emotions. They are less likely to change direction simply because public opinion changes. Their consistency creates reliability, and reliability creates respect. People naturally trust those whose actions remain aligned with clearly defined values. Physical appearance should never be ignored, but it should never become the foundation of confidence either. Taking care of your health, maintaining good posture, dressing appropriately, and presenting yourself professionally communicates self-respect. However, appearance alone cannot replace character. Attractive appearances may attract attention, but integrity keeps respect alive long after first impressions fade. Another important lesson is avoiding unnecessary competition. Many people constantly compare themselves with everyone around them. They seek opportunities to prove they are smarter, richer, stronger, or more successful. This endless comparison quietly reveals insecurity. Truly confident individuals focus on personal growth instead of constant rivalry. They celebrate progress without needing to diminish someone else's achievements. Presence also grows through competence. Confidence without skill eventually collapses because reality exposes empty claims. The more capable you become in your profession, communication, leadership, and personal discipline, the less you need to convince others of your value. Competence creates quiet confidence because preparation removes uncertainty. You trust yourself because you have invested time in becoming genuinely capable. Resilience strengthens presence even further. Life will eventually challenge everyone through failure, rejection, criticism, setbacks, and disappointment. Some people allow these experiences to define them. Others use every challenge to become wiser and stronger. People deeply respect those who continue moving forward despite difficulties because resilience demonstrates inner strength that cannot be purchased or imitated. Humility is equally important. Commanding respect does not mean believing you are superior to everyone else. Arrogance pushes people away because it demands admiration without earning trust. Humility creates confidence without insecurity. It allows you to admit mistakes, learn continuously, and respect others without reducing your own value. This balance makes your presence authentic instead of performative. Ultimately, an unshakable presence is not created through manipulation or intimidation, but through disciplined habits practiced consistently over time. Every promise you keep, every emotion you control, every challenge you face with composure, every boundary you protect, every skill you master, and every decision you make according to your principles strengthens the quiet authority that causes others to respect you naturally, because your confidence no longer depends on applause, approval, popularity, or temporary success, but on the solid foundation of character, discipline, competence, emotional control, and unwavering self-respect.